And now let's deal with the submit button. I'm going to jump over to our HTML file. And now I'm going to scroll down here. When we didn't add a value for our input, the browser selected the default of submit. So we'll need to set the value of this in order to override it and have it be nothing. So we'll do value equals and then an empty phrase. We'll refresh. And so now we have an empty element to start out with. So what we want to do is use a magnifying glass icon instead of text. So we'll use the same approach as we did with our account and phone number down here. And we'll use the before pseudo element with the content property. So I'll go over to the search form and here's our submit. And I'm going to add the before. And again, we'll need to set this to Font Awesome for the font family. And we'll set the content. And let's go to our cheat sheet on Font Awesome and see if we can find a search icon. So search. Okay, here we go. So we'll copy the text between the X and the semicolon. And we need a backslash and we'll paste the rest in. And we can save this and jump back to our example. So when we do this and then we refresh the browser, we'll still see nothing inside of this box. And if we inspect this element, normally we would see a before in an element where we could click it and see what content was in the before pseudo element. But with the submit button, we don't see that. Now, this is just kind of a quirk of input elements. The problem is if you did a search in Google for, say, something like using before and after on input elements, you discover that you can't actually do that. But there's a workaround for a submit button, which is to use the button element instead, which is styled very similarly to a submit and will actually work as a submit button inside of a form. So let's switch over our HTML code to use a button instead. So here, we'll just switch input to button. We'll leave the type as submit. The title and class will keep the same. We'll save it and refresh in the browser. And we see our element, but now we see that it's really big. That's because unlike an input element, a button element isn't a void element. So we need a closing tag. Let's save that and refresh. Okay, so we're looking good here. I'm going to go back to our CSS